Your life is a reflection of your mindset, not your circumstances, not your past, not your limitations. Your mindset, the way you think, the way you interpret the world, the way you respond to challenges, the way you talk to yourself, the way you view your own potential. These patterns shape your reality far more than luck or intelligence. Most people try to fix their life on the outside, without ever addressing the thoughts that created that life in the first place. They change jobs, but keep the same fears. They change relationships, but keep the same wounds. They change goals, but keep the same limiting beliefs. And then they wonder why nothing changes. This audiobook reveals the truth. Transform your mindset, and your life cannot stay the same. You will learn how your thoughts shape your outcomes, how your beliefs control your behavior, how your emotional patterns influence your decisions, and how to break mental habits that have kept you stuck for years. This isn't surface-level positivity. This is deep psychological transformation, rewiring the way you think so you can finally become the person your future requires. Fix your mindset, and your life will follow. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Your thoughts create your reality. Your life does not begin in the outside world. It begins in your mind. Every choice you make, every opportunity you see or ignore, every fear you avoid or confront, it all starts with a single thought. Most people believe their circumstances shape their life, but the truth is far more powerful. Your thoughts create the lens through which you see your circumstances, and the lens is what determines your reality. Two people can live in the same environment, with the same setbacks, the same resources, yet one thrives while the other collapses. The difference isn't luck. It isn't talent. It isn't opportunity. It is perception, the mental filter that determines what you notice, what you fear, what you believe is possible. Your brain is constantly interpreting the world, and it bases that interpretation on the story your thoughts tell it. If your thoughts tell you, "I'm not ready. I don't deserve more. I always fail. People like me don't succeed," your brain will find evidence to prove those thoughts correct. Not because they're true, but because your mind is trained to confirm what it believes. This is how thoughts shape reality. Not magically, but psychologically, behaviorally, emotionally. Your internal world becomes the script for your external world. Your brain filters reality based on what you believe. Your brain cannot process the entire world at once. There's too much information, too many details, too many possibilities. So instead, your brain filters. It ignores what it doesn't believe is important. It highlights what aligns with your expectations. It reinforces your mental patterns. It sharpens whatever emotion you're primed to feel. This filtering system is called your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that decides what enters your awareness. And here's the powerful part. Your thoughts instruct the filter. If you think you're not capable, your filter hides opportunities that require courage. If you think you're unlucky, your filter highlights every setback. If you think you're capable and growing, your filter reveals solutions you never saw before. Your thoughts train your brain to either shrink your world or expand it. You live the life your mind tells you is possible. Every action you take begins as a thought, but every action you avoid also begins as a thought. You don't take chances you don't believe you deserve. You don't pursue opportunities you don't think you're ready for. You don't break patterns you think define you. You don't rise if your thoughts keep you beneath your potential. Your future is shaped by what your mind allows you to reach for. When your thoughts tell you, "I can figure this out. I'm capable of growth. I don't have to stay the same. My past doesn't define my future," your actions begin to shift in a new direction. Small decisions become meaningful changes. Daily habits begin aligning with long-term goals. Fear becomes less of a barrier and more of a teacher. Your identity starts expanding instead of contracting. This is how changing your mind changes your life. Thoughts shape emotion, and emotion shapes behavior. The way you think determines the way you feel, and the way you feel determines the way you act. If you believe something is overwhelming, you feel anxious and you avoid it. If you believe you're capable, you feel confident and you take action. If you believe failure defines you, you feel ashamed and you stop trying. But if you believe failure teaches you, you feel motivated and you try again. Thoughts, emotions, actions, results. This cycle builds your entire life. Every experience you have is filtered through the meaning your thoughts attach to it. Change the meaning, and the emotions shift. Change the emotions, and the actions shift. Change the actions, and your life begins to transform. Awareness is the first step of transformation. You cannot change thoughts you never question. You cannot upgrade beliefs you don't even notice. You cannot rewrite a story you don't realize you're telling yourself. Awareness is the beginning of personal power. Transformation begins when you pause and observe your thinking. What story am I repeating? Whose belief am I carrying? Is this thought helping me or hurting me? Is this fear real, or is it a leftover narrative from my past? Awareness doesn't require you to force positivity. It simply allows you to see your thoughts as thoughts, not truth. Once you see them, you can challenge them. Once you challenge them, you can change them. Once you change them, your world begins to shift. Transformation doesn't start with action. It starts with recognition. The moment you realize that your thoughts are not facts, they're choices, you begin taking control of your life. Because if your thoughts create your reality, then changing your thoughts is how you build a new one. Chapter 2. The Power of Core Beliefs. If your thoughts shape your daily reality, your core beliefs shape your entire life. Thoughts come and go like passing clouds, but core beliefs are the sky they move through. They form the foundation beneath every reaction, every decision, every dream you pursue or abandon. Most people never question their beliefs. They never ask where they came from, why they exist, or whether they are even true. But here's the truth. Your core beliefs silently determine the limits of your life. They influence how much love you accept, how much success you pursue, how much risk you tolerate, how much failure you allow yourself to learn from, and how much of your potential you give yourself permission to access. Understanding your core beliefs is not optional. It is the key to personal transformation. Core beliefs drive behavior more than motivation ever will. You don't act based on what you want. You act based on what you believe you're capable of. Motivation lasts minutes. Beliefs last decades. If your core belief says, "I'm not good enough," you will subconsciously choose actions that confirm it. If your core belief says, "I always mess things up," you will sabotage your success to stay consistent with that belief. If your core belief says, "I don't deserve better," you will stay in situations, relationships, jobs, environments that diminish you. Core beliefs are the blueprint your life quietly follows. Change the blueprint, and the entire structure begins to shift. Most core beliefs are formed in childhood and never questioned again. Before you had logic, before you had independence, before you even understood the world, your mind was absorbing beliefs from your parents, your school, your culture, your environment, your early failures, your early successes, your emotional experiences. A child doesn't question whether a belief is accurate. A child assumes, if this is what people say, it must be true. If this is how I'm treated, it must define me. If this is what I'm told, it must be who I am. And without realizing it, those beliefs become the mental rules you carry into adulthood. Beliefs like, I shouldn't speak up. I need to be perfect to be valued. Love must be earned. Success is for other people, not me. I'm too much. I'm not enough. I must avoid failure at all costs. These childhood beliefs become the prison walls around your adult potential. Limiting beliefs create self-sabotage and fear cycles. You cannot outperform the beliefs you hold about yourself. If you believe you're destined to fail, you won't give full effort, and the lack of effort becomes proof of the belief. If you believe you're not meant for success, you'll sabotage opportunities, and the sabotage becomes reinforcement. If you believe you're unlovable, you push people away, and loneliness becomes evidence. Limiting beliefs create a cycle. Belief, emotion, action, outcome reinforce belief. This cycle repeats until something breaks. And what breaks it is awareness. Transformation begins with identifying hidden beliefs. Most people don't know their core beliefs. They only see the symptoms. Procrastination, fear, low confidence, overthinking, people-pleasing, self-sabotage, avoidance, settling, staying small. But behind each symptom is a belief. To uncover your beliefs, ask, what must I believe about myself to keep repeating this pattern? What belief would someone have if they acted the way I do? What fear is driving this? Where did this belief come from? Is this belief truly mine, or something I inherited? You cannot change what you cannot see. Self-inquiry is how you turn subconscious programming into conscious awareness. Challenging old beliefs is how you rewrite your identity. Beliefs don't disappear when you recognize them, but recognition gives you power over them. To change a belief, you must challenge it. Is it a fact or a story? Where is the evidence? Who did I learn this from? Was that person reliable? Does this belief serve my future? What belief will my highest self hold instead? When a belief is challenged, it begins to crack. When it cracks, new beliefs can take root. When new beliefs take root, your identity transforms. Identity is not fixed. Identity is the story you choose to accept about who you are. Rewrite the story, and you rewrite the self. Belief change leads to identity change, and identity change leads to life change. You can force new habits for a while. You can push through fear temporarily. You can motivate yourself in short bursts. But true transformation lasts only when your identity evolves. When you stop believing, I can't, and start believing, I'm capable. When you stop believing, I'm not enough, and start believing, I'm growing. When you stop believing, this is who I am, and start believing, I can become anyone I choose. That shift changes everything. Your posture, your voice, your decisions, your ambition, your relationships, your resilience, your tolerance for discomfort, your vision for your future. Because the moment your beliefs expand, your life expands with them. Beliefs are the foundation of personal transformation. If you change your beliefs, you change your identity. If you change your identity, you change your destiny. Chapter 3, the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. Your mindset is the lens through which you interpret challenge, failure, success, and possibility. It determines how you respond to setbacks, how you pursue goals, and how you define yourself. There are two primary mindsets that shape your entire life. A fixed mindset, which believes your abilities are limited and static, and a growth mindset, which believes your abilities can evolve with effort, learning, and resilience. These two mindsets create two very different lives, two very different futures, two very different identities. Understanding the difference between them is one of the greatest psychological shifts you will ever make. The fixed mindset, where fear controls potential. A fixed mindset is built on one core belief. This is who I am. I can't really change. People with a fixed mindset believe talent is fixed, intelligence is fixed, abilities are fixed, personality is fixed, potential is fixed. So every challenge feels like a threat. Because if they fail, it means something is wrong with them, not their effort. Failure becomes personal. Effort becomes embarrassing. Criticism becomes an attack. Setbacks become proof they aren't enough. A fixed mindset whispers, what if you try and fail? What if you're not good enough? What if people see your weaknesses? What if you embarrass yourself? The fixed mindset doesn't fear failure itself. It fears what failure means. To protect the ego, people with fixed mindsets avoid challenges. They avoid discomfort. They avoid growth. But avoidance never protects potential. It kills it. The growth mindset, where challenges become opportunity. A growth mindset is built on a different core belief. I can grow. I can improve. I can become more. People with a growth mindset believe abilities can be developed. Skills can be learned. Intelligence can expand. Success comes from effort. Failure is feedback. Challenges are not threats. They are invitations. Mistakes are not identity statements. They are stepping stones. Setbacks are not evidence of inadequacy. They are information for strategy. The growth mindset whispers, "You're learning. Try again with a better approach. You're improving. This is building you. You haven't mastered it yet." A growth mindset turns life into a long-term journey, not a single moment of judgment. Fixed mindset versus growth mindset during failure. When failure happens, and it always will, the difference between these two mindsets becomes unmistakable. The fixed mindset says, "I failed. That means I'm not good enough. I should stop before I embarrass myself. This proves I'm not meant for this." The growth mindset says, "I failed. What can I learn? This didn't work. What will work?" Every skill was once difficult for a beginner. Failure is part of the process. One mindset stops because it believes the story is over. The other continues because it believes the story is still being written. Fixed mindsets rely on talent. Growth mindsets rely on effort. A fixed mindset creates a false belief that successful people are born gifted. They're naturally talented. They're smarter. They have something I don't. This belief becomes an excuse to stay small. It removes accountability. It creates envy instead of inspiration. A growth mindset sees successful people differently. They developed that skill. They practiced consistently. They started as beginners. They improved through effort. This belief empowers you. It puts success back into your hands. It transforms you from a spectator into a participant. You don't need natural talent to achieve something great. You need a growth mindset that refuses to stop evolving. Shifting mindset shifts behavior instantly. The moment your mindset shifts, your behavior follows. With a fixed mindset, you avoid difficult tasks. With a growth mindset, you seek them. With a fixed mindset, you give up easily. With a growth mindset, you persist. With a fixed mindset, you hide your weaknesses. With a growth mindset, you work on them. With a fixed mindset, you compare yourself to others. With a growth mindset, you compare yourself to who you were yesterday. With a fixed mindset, you fear judgment. With a growth mindset, you fear stagnation. Mindset is not just a belief. It is a pattern of decisions. Change the patterns, and everything about your life changes with them. Growth mindsets produce long-term success. The people who succeed in life are not the smartest, not the most talented, not the luckiest. They're the ones who keep going. They're the ones who embrace the discomfort of growth, who learn from failure, who refine their strategy, who ask better questions, who stay curious, who don't quit when progress is slow. Success is not a straight line. It is a spiral of effort, failure, learning, and persistence. A fixed mindset sees this spiral as chaos. A growth mindset sees it as evolution. And the truth is simple. Your success will never exceed your mindset. A fixed mindset keeps you trapped. A growth mindset sets you free. Freedom to try. Freedom to improve. Freedom to evolve. Freedom to become the person your potential points toward. Mindset is the doorway between who you are and who you could become. Chapter 4. Emotional patterns that control your decisions. You like to believe you're a logical person. Someone who makes rational choices, thinks clearly, weighs options, and acts with intention. But the truth is far more human and far more powerful. You're driven by emotion long before logic ever enters the room. Every decision you make, what you chase, what you avoid, what you tolerate, what you commit to, what you quit, is influenced by emotional patterns formed long before you realized it. Emotions are the hidden engines behind your behavior. They shape your impulses, your reactions, your beliefs, your confidence, and your fears. Logic explains your decisions. Emotion creates them. If you want to transform your life, you must understand the emotional patterns that are silently steering it. Emotions drive behavior more than logic ever will. Your brain processes emotion faster than thought. In fact, emotion triggers action before logic even arrives to interpret it. This is why you say things you regret, why you avoid opportunities you want, why you sabotage goals that matter, why you stay in situations that hurt you. Emotion moves first. Logic tries to catch up. Fear tells you not to try. Guilt tells you not to want. Shame tells you you're not worthy. Anger tells you to react. Excitement tells you to pursue. Emotions are not random. They are patterns shaped by your past. And those patterns become the autopilot of your life. Unprocessed emotions lead to impulsive reactions. When emotions aren't acknowledged, they don't disappear. They get stored. Stored fear becomes procrastination. Stored shame becomes self-sabotage. Stored sadness becomes withdrawal. Stored anger becomes outbursts. Stored insecurity becomes perfectionism. Stored disappointment becomes overthinking. Unprocessed emotions become behavioral patterns you can't explain. You say, I don't know why I reacted like that. I don't know why I keep repeating this cycle. I don't know why this always happens to me. But your emotional patterns know, and until you address them, they will continue running your life from the background. Emotional awareness increases decision-making power. Awareness doesn't eliminate emotion. It gives you control over it. When you pause and observe your emotional state, you interrupt the autopilot. You create space. Space to breathe. Space to think. Space to choose. Space to respond with intention rather than instinct. Emotional awareness sounds like this. This isn't fear of failure. This is fear of judgment. This isn't anger. This is unmet needs. This isn't procrastination. This is avoidance of discomfort. This isn't laziness. This is burnout. Naming emotions weakens their power. Understanding emotions breaks the pattern. Choosing responses builds emotional mastery. When you can identify your true emotional drivers, your decisions become clearer, stronger, and more aligned. Regulated emotions create controlled responses. Emotion regulation is not suppression. It is management. It means you feel fully, without allowing the feeling to take command of your life. Regulating emotions shifts you from reactive, responsive, impulsive, intentional, fearful, courageous, overwhelmed, grounded, confused, clear. A regulated mind doesn't panic in discomfort. It sits with the feeling, observes it, breathes through it, responds from stability, not chaos. This is emotional maturity, the skill that holds your entire inner world together. Your emotional patterns decide your daily behavior. Think of how often emotions dictate your actions. You avoid tasks because they feel overwhelming. You delay decisions because they feel scary. You check your phone because boredom feels uncomfortable. You isolate because connection feels vulnerable. You say yes because guilt feels heavy. You quit because progress feels slow. Your emotions decide your habits. Your habits decide your outcomes. So ultimately, your emotions decide your life. If you don't examine your emotional patterns, you'll continue repeating the same behaviors without understanding why. A calm mind produces a powerful mindset. When your emotions are unsettled, your mindset collapses. It becomes harder to think clearly, harder to stay consistent, harder to remain confident, harder to make disciplined choices. But when your emotions are grounded, your mindset strengthens. A calm emotional state improves. Focus, motivation, clarity, resilience, confidence, decision-making, self-control. Calm is not weakness. Calm is power. A calm mind can break patterns a chaotic mind cannot even see. When your emotions stop controlling your behavior, your mindset finally becomes strong enough to create change. Your emotions are not obstacles. They are information. Your emotions are not the enemy. They are messengers. Fear says, something feels unsafe. Shame says, there's a part of you that needs healing. Anger says, a boundary has been crossed. Sadness says, something deeply mattered. Resistance says, growth is happening. When you stop fighting your emotions and start listening to them, you gain wisdom. Transformation happens when emotion and awareness meet. That is the moment you evolve. From reacting to your life to rebuilding it with intention. Chapter 5. The Self-Talk Loop. How you speak to yourself shapes your life. There is a voice inside your mind that never stops talking. It speaks when you wake up and when you fall asleep. It whispers when you're scared, shouts when you're stressed, and narrates every moment of your life. This voice is your self-talk, and whether you realize it or not, it shapes your confidence, your identity, your decisions, and your entire emotional experience. Most people think their mindset shapes their self-talk, but the truth is deeper. Your self-talk creates your mindset. If your inner voice speaks with fear, you live cautiously. If it speaks with doubt, you live small. If it speaks with confidence, you live boldly. If it speaks with clarity, you live intentionally. You become whatever your inner voice repeats most often. Your inner voice becomes your outer results. Every achievement, every failure, every dream you pursue, every opportunity you avoid, they all begin as a silent sentence inside your mind. Before you act, you think. Before you try, you self-evaluate. Before you grow, you self-perceive. Before you reach outward, you speak inward. Your inner dialogue determines how much you believe in yourself, how much effort you invest, how resilient you are, how you respond to setbacks, how you show up in the world. It is impossible to build a powerful life with a voice inside you telling you that you can't. Negative self-talk weakens confidence and motivation. When your inner voice is critical, harsh, or fearful, it drains your emotional power. Negative self-talk may sound like, I always mess things up. I'm not smart enough. I never finish anything. No one will care. I'm not meant for success. These thoughts feel like truth, but they're nothing more than repeated mental habits. Over time, negative self-talk becomes self-doubt, self-sabotage, perfectionism, fear of failure, fear of judgment, procrastination, low self-worth. Your mind becomes a hostile environment, not because you aren't capable, but because you've been telling yourself that you aren't. You cannot rise while speaking to yourself in ways that keep you small. Affirmations work only when paired with action. People misunderstand affirmations. They think repeating positive phrases will magically change their life. But the brain doesn't believe words. It believes evidence. Saying, I'm confident means nothing if your actions contradict it. Real change comes from combining empowering words plus aligned actions. When your words and actions match, your brain updates its identity. When they don't match, your mind rejects the affirmation as a lie. Confidence is built through behavior, through doing things that prove the affirmation true. A new story requires new habits. Self-talk must become realistic, empowering, and consistent. Healthy self-talk isn't delusional positivity. It's grounded strength. Realistic self-talk looks like, I can figure this out. I'm learning. I can improve. I've handled difficulty before. I can handle this too. My mistakes don't define me. I'm capable of growing into this. This type of self-talk does three things. Reduces emotional intensity, increases mental clarity, strengthens your sense of capability. It doesn't pretend life is easy. It prepares you to meet life with strength. Consistency is what cements self-talk into identity. Your mind rewires through repetition. The more often you speak to yourself with respect, the more natural it becomes. How your self-talk reinforces or breaks cycles. Self-talk forms loops, patterns that either hold you back or move you forward. A negative loop looks like, Doubt, overthinking, avoidance, guilt, more doubt. A positive loop looks like encouragement, action, progress, confidence, more encouragement. Your inner voice determines which loop you live in. If you repeatedly tell yourself, I can't, your brain stops looking for solutions. If you repeatedly tell yourself, I can try, your brain starts looking for possibilities. Your thoughts are not just commentary. They are instructions for your subconscious. Rewriting your inner dialogue rewires your identity. Identity is not built from the outside in. It is built from the inside out. When you change your self-talk, your self-perception shifts. Your emotional patterns shift. Your decisions shift. Your habits shift. Your future shifts. Becoming a new person doesn't begin with dramatic action. It begins with changing the way you speak to yourself. On ordinary days, in quiet moments when no one else is listening. Transformation happens in the sentences you repeat internally. You rise when your inner voice rises with you. You fall when your inner voice becomes an enemy. The mind listens. The body follows. The life reflects the story told inside. Rewrite the story, and everything outside of you begins to change. Chapter 6. Breaking the habit of overthinking. Overthinking is one of the most convincing illusions the mind creates. It feels like you're being responsible. It feels like you're preparing. It feels like you're protecting yourself from mistakes. But in reality, overthinking is a trap, a mental maze with no exit, a habit disguised as caution, a cycle that drains energy, weakens clarity, and destroys momentum. Overthinking never leads to better decisions. It only leads to delayed decisions. If you want transformation, you must break the mental loops that keep you stuck in your head instead of moving through your life. Overthinking is mental paralysis, not wisdom. When you overthink, you're not solving a problem. You're circling it. You replay scenarios, imagine worst-case outcomes, analyze every angle, and obsess over details that don't matter. It feels like work, but it produces nothing. Your mind becomes cluttered. Your emotions intensify. Your confidence shrinks. Your inner critic grows. Your sense of danger increases. The more you think, the less you act. And the less you act, the more overwhelming your thoughts become. Movement becomes harder. Fear becomes louder. Choices become heavier. This is why overthinking is not intelligence. It's fear wearing the mask of logic. The mind creates imaginary problems to avoid real action. Your brain is designed to keep you safe. And to the brain, safety means familiarity. So when you're about to step into something new, a decision, a conversation, a project, a risk, your mind activates fear to protect you. That fear turns into overthinking. What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if I choose wrong? What if I'm not ready? What if something goes wrong? Your brain invents imaginary problems, so you avoid the uncomfortable action in front of you. The mind isn't trying to punish you. It's trying to protect you using outdated survival patterns. But avoiding discomfort is how you stay stuck. Growth requires stepping into uncertainty, not thinking your way around it. Overthinking increases fear and indecision. Every time you revisit a thought without resolution, you condition your brain to believe it's dangerous. The loop becomes fear, overthinking, inaction, more fear. Each round strengthens the mental habit. The more you think, the scarier the decision becomes. The longer you sit still, the heavier the action feels. Your mind becomes a place of hesitation, not creation. Overthinking doesn't prevent mistakes. It prevents progress. Clarity emerges through movement, not more analysis. No amount of thinking will replace the learning that comes from action. You learn what works by doing it. You learn what doesn't by trying it. You learn your strength by testing it. You learn your path by walking it. Clarity is a product of movement. Take one small action, and instantly your mind has new information to work with. Action shrinks fear. Action disrupts doubt. Action teaches. Action builds confidence. Action ends confusion. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a starting point. Breaking the overthinking loop requires interrupting the pattern. Overthinking is a habit, and like any habit, it can be interrupted and replaced. Here's how. 1. Label the thought loop. Say, "This is overthinking, not truth." Naming it gives you psychological separation. 2. Bring your attention to the present moment. Overthinking lives in the future. Focus lives in the now. 3. Ask, what is the next small step? Not the whole plan, not the whole solution, just the next action. 4. Take the smallest possible action within 60 seconds. Small steps bypass fear. Movement breaks paralysis. 5. Let action create new clarity. Your brain recalibrates when it sees progress. Overthinking thrives in the absence of action. It dies in the presence of it. Your mind doesn't need more time. It needs direction. You're not indecisive because you lack ability. You are indecisive because you lack clarity. And clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from assigning your mind a direction. Ask yourself, what outcome do I want? What matters most right now? What would my future self choose? What decision supports my growth? When your mind has direction, it stops spiraling. When your mind has a target, it stops guessing. When your mind has purpose, it stops panicking. You break the habit by building a new identity. Overthinking is not just a cognitive behavior. It is part of your identity. The overthinker identity sounds like, I need to be sure. I need more information. I don't want to make the wrong choice. I need to think about it. To escape this identity, you must adopt a new one. I make decisions based on values, not fear. I take action even when uncertain. I trust myself to figure things out. I learn quickly by doing. Identity shifts rewire behavioral patterns. You stop being someone who thinks endlessly and start being someone who moves intentionally. Life rewards action, not overanalysis. People who overthink stay stuck. People who act get answers. People who move create momentum. People who trust themselves evolve. Your future doesn't come from thinking about it. Your future comes from stepping into it. Action is how transformation begins. Action is how clarity is created. Action is how fear loses its power. Overthinking delays your life. Action restores it. Chapter 7. Reprogramming your mind through daily habits. Transformation doesn't happen in a single moment. It doesn't happen because of motivation, inspiration, or emotion. It doesn't happen from reading one book or having one breakthrough. Real transformation happens quietly, in the routines you repeat, the actions you normalize, the choices you make every day, when no one is watching. The most powerful psychological truth is this. Your habits shape your identity, and your identity shapes your future. If you want to change your life, you must reprogram your mind through consistent daily habits. Not dramatic effort, not sudden bursts of motivation, but small, repeatable actions that slowly rebuild who you are on the inside. Habits change neural pathways over time. Every habit you repeat, good or bad, carves a pathway in your brain. When a habit is new, the pathway is small, weak, fragile. When a habit becomes repeated, the pathway thickens, strengthens, becomes automatic. This is how your brain builds patterns. By repeating the same behavior, your brain begins to predict it, prefer it, and default to it. Your habits become your brain's autopilot. This means if you repeat avoidance, avoiding becomes easier. If you repeat overthinking, overthinking becomes automatic. If you repeat confidence-building actions, confidence becomes natural. If you repeat discipline, discipline becomes identity. Your brain is not fixed. It is programmable. Every day, you're training it through the habits you practice. Consistency matters more than intensity. Most people fail because they chase intensity. Big goals, major changes, radical commitments, dramatic routines. But intensity burns out quickly. Intensity relies on emotion, and emotions are unstable. Consistency, on the other hand, rewires identity. One small habit done daily is more transformative than a huge effort done once. Consistency creates predictability, discipline, belief in yourself, neural rewiring, momentum, identity shifts. You don't change your life in a single giant leap. You change it in small, manageable steps, taken over and over again. Micro habits slowly shift identity and worldview. A micro habit is a small action that doesn't trigger resistance in the mind. Walk for 5 minutes. Read 2 pages. Write 1 sentence. Meditate for 60 seconds. Clean 1 corner of the room. Do 5 push-ups. Drink 1 glass of water. These seem insignificant, but psychologically, they are powerful. Micro habits bypass fear. They bypass procrastination. They bypass resistance. They send a signal to your brain. I'm someone who follows through. I am someone who improves. I am someone who grows. I am someone who takes action. Your mind begins rewriting your identity based on your consistency, not your intensity. Small habits compound into big shifts. Your daily routine determines your long-term mindset. People underestimate the power of an ordinary day, but a single day, repeated 365 times, becomes your life. Your mindset is shaped by what you do repeatedly. If your days are filled with distraction, your mind becomes scattered. If your days are filled with avoidance, your mind becomes fearful. If your days are filled with intentional actions, your mind becomes focused. If your days are filled with effort, your mind becomes resilient. If your days are filled with learning, your mind becomes growth-oriented. Your routine trains your brain to either expand or contract. Transformation requires designing your days to match the person you want to become. Habit building has 3 psychological stages. Transformation through habits happens in 3 silent phases. 1. The resistance phase. Your brain fights change. You feel discomfort. Old patterns try to pull you back. This phase is psychological friction. It is normal and temporary. 2. The repetition phase. The habit becomes familiar. There is less emotional resistance. Identity begins to shift. Your brain starts building the neural pathway. 3. The autopilot phase. The habit becomes easy, then automatic, then natural, then part of who you are. Most people quit in phase 1 because they mistake discomfort for failure. But discomfort is the doorway to transformation. Repetition builds identity stronger than belief alone. You can tell yourself you're disciplined. You can visualize being confident. You can affirm your goals every morning. But your brain believes what you repeatedly do, not what you occasionally say. Identity grows from action. If you meditate daily, you become someone who values calm. If you exercise daily, you become someone who cares for your body. If you learn daily, you become someone who grows. If you create daily, you become someone who produces. Habits transform identity by proving to your brain that you are becoming the person you claim to be. You build a future by shaping your daily actions. Your future is not built in the future. It is built in the present, with every small action that reinforces who you are becoming. If you want a new life, you don't need a dramatic change. You need a new pattern, a new sequence of actions, a new set of choices, a new rhythm for your days. You reprogram your mind through daily repetition. You create transformation through consistent micro habits. You build your future by building your identity, one day at a time. The life you want begins with the habits you commit to today. Chapter 8. The Psychology of Self-Sabotage. Self-sabotage is one of the most confusing experiences a person can have. You want to succeed, yet you avoid the actions that would help you succeed. You want change, yet you cling to the patterns that hold you back. You want growth, yet you resist the very behaviors that would create it. Why? Why would anyone sabotage the life they claim to want? Because self-sabotage is not laziness, is not incompetence, is not weakness. Self-sabotage is a protection mechanism rooted in fear. It is your mind's attempt to keep you safe from emotional discomfort, uncertainty, or perceived danger. Even when that danger exists only in old beliefs, past wounds, or outdated identities. To break self-sabotage, you must understand the psychology behind it. Self-sabotage is protection, not failure. The mind has one primary instinct: keep you safe. But the mind does not distinguish between physical danger and emotional danger. If something threatens your identity, your beliefs, your comfort, your self-image, your brain triggers avoidance behaviors to protect you. Self-sabotage emerges when success feels unfamiliar, failure feels defining, change feels destabilizing, visibility feels threatening, expectations feel heavy, discomfort feels dangerous. So your mind pulls you back into old patterns where it knows what to expect. Even if those patterns hurt you, your comfort zone isn't safe. It's predictable, and the brain prioritizes predictability over progress. When you fear success, you avoid the behaviors that lead to it. People fear failure, but equally powerful and often more hidden is the fear of success. Success demands responsibility. It demands visibility. It demands consistency. It demands that you rise into a higher version of yourself. Success pushes you out of who you've been and into who you could become. That transition is emotionally uncomfortable, and the mind avoids discomfort. So instead of moving forward, you procrastinate, overthink, quit early, choose distractions, avoid opportunities, people please, stay small, hide your talent. Your mind is not sabotaging your success. It is protecting you from the discomfort success requires. Self-sabotage begins when beliefs clash with goals. Imagine trying to climb a ladder, while a rope tied around your waist pulls you back down. Your goals pull you up. Your beliefs pull you down. The conflict feels like, I want to be confident, but I don't feel worthy. I want success, but I'm afraid I'll lose myself. I want to change, but I'm scared of who I'll have to become. I want to grow, but I fear being judged. When your internal beliefs do not match your external goals, self-sabotage fills the space in between. You do not sabotage because you're incapable. You sabotage because part of you believes. You're not allowed to grow beyond your old identity until beliefs are aligned with your goals. Your behavior will always pull you backward. Self-sabotage thrives in the subconscious. Most sabotage happens without awareness. You don't think, I'm going to sabotage myself today. Instead, it shows up as forgetting important tasks, losing motivation, starting but never finishing, choosing comfort over progress, avoiding difficult conversations, seeking distractions, creating unnecessary drama, settling for less than you want. These behaviors look like coincidence. They feel like personality flaws, but they are subconscious strategies meant to protect you from discomfort. The subconscious mind always chooses the familiar, even when the familiar is painful. You must align self-worth with ambition. You cannot outwork a lack of self-worth. If you believe, I'm not enough, you will sabotage relationships that treat you well. If you believe, I don't deserve success, you will sabotage opportunities that elevate you. If you believe, good things don't happen to people like me, you will sabotage progress the moment it begins. Self-worth sets the ceiling for what you allow yourself to reach. Raising your self-worth raises your life. Awareness breaks self-sabotaging loops. You cannot break sabotage you do not recognize. Awareness turns the lights on in the room. It allows you to see the pattern, question it, and intervene. To identify sabotage, ask, what emotion am I avoiding right now? What belief would someone have if they acted the way I am acting? What am I afraid will happen if this succeeds? What identity am I trying to protect? What discomfort does growth trigger in me? These questions uncover the real reason behind the behavior. And once you see the cause, the pattern begins to weaken, replacing sabotage with alignment. Breaking sabotage doesn't mean forcing yourself to work harder. It means creating alignment between your beliefs, your identity, your values, your goals, your behaviors. You outgrow sabotage by becoming someone who trusts themselves, handles discomfort, expects good things, believes in growth, takes consistent action. When your inner world supports your outer goals, saboteur behaviors lose their purpose. Your mind stops trying to protect you from success and starts guiding you toward it. Self-sabotage isn't the enemy, it's a teacher. Self-sabotage reveals where you feel unsafe, where you feel unworthy, where you feel unprepared, where you feel misaligned. Every sabotage pattern has a message. Procrastination says, I'm afraid of failure. Perfectionism says, I'm afraid of judgment. Avoidance says, I'm afraid of discomfort. Self-doubt says, I'm afraid of responsibility. When you decode the message, you heal the pattern. Self-sabotage is not a flaw. It is a signal pointing toward the parts of you that need understanding, upgrading, and compassion. Once you learn the lesson, the pattern loses its power, and your life begins to expand. Chapter 9. The Power of Mindset in Stress, Failure, and Hardship. Hardship doesn't create your mindset. It reveals it. Stress exposes the strength of your inner world. Failure tests the truth of your beliefs. Uncertainty challenges the depth of your identity. Adversity brings your psychological foundation to the surface, showing you what you really think about yourself, about life, and about your ability to handle the unknown. Your mindset during easy times matters far less than your mindset during difficult ones. Anyone can feel confident when life is smooth. Anyone can feel motivated when progress is visible. Anyone can feel strong when everything is predictable. But true growth, true transformation, is shaped in the moments where you do not feel strong. This chapter is about the mindset that keeps you moving. When life tries to stop you, hard moments reveal your mindset more than easy ones. Pressure changes people. Some break, some bend, some rise. And the difference is mindset. A person with a fixed mindset sees hardship as evidence of failure. A person with a growth mindset sees hardship as training. The fixed mindset says, this is too much. I can't handle this. The growth mindset says, this is difficult, but I can grow through it. The fixed mindset withdraws. The growth mindset adapts. The fixed mindset blames. The growth mindset learns. Hardship doesn't build character. It exposes whether your character is rooted in fear or resilience. A strong mindset reframes stress into growth. Stress is not always a threat. Sometimes it is a signal. It signals that something matters. It signals that you are stretching beyond your limits. It signals that you are entering unfamiliar territory where growth lives. A weak mindset interprets stress as, I am not capable. A strong mindset interprets stress as, I'm being challenged to expand. The meaning you assign to stress determines whether you grow or collapse. Stress can break you, or it can strengthen you. It all begins with interpretation. Failure becomes feedback instead of identity. Failure is not a problem. The meaning you attach to failure is the problem. When your mindset is fragile, failure becomes personal. I failed, therefore I am a failure. I made a mistake, therefore something is wrong with me. I wasn't good enough, therefore I never will be. But when your mindset is strong, the meaning changes. I failed, therefore I learned something. This didn't work, so I need a new strategy. That was painful, so now I understand what to improve. The strongest people in the world fail frequently. The difference is that they do not interpret failure as identity. They interpret it as data. Failure is feedback. Feedback is information. Information is power. This is the mindset that transforms setbacks into stepping stones. Resilience is not a trait. It is a mental skill. People imagine resilience as something a person is born with. a special strength given to a select few. But resilience is not a trait. It is a skill, a trainable, learnable psychological capacity. Resilience is built every time you try again after failing. Stay calm under pressure. Choose patience over panic. Take responsibility instead of shutting down. Adjust your approach instead of quitting. Face discomfort with awareness, not avoidance. Your brain becomes stronger every time you refuse to collapse under fear. Resilience is built through repetition, through facing challenges and choosing not to retreat. Over time, this becomes your identity. I am someone who continues. Mindset determines how quickly you recover. Two people can face the same setback and respond in completely different ways. One spirals into hopelessness. The other reorganizes, re-strategizes, and rebuilds. The difference is mindset. A weak mindset says, "This ruined everything." A strong mindset says, "This slowed me down, but it did not stop me." A weak mindset focuses on what went wrong. A strong mindset focuses on what can be done next. Recovery is not determined by circumstance. It is determined by psychological interpretation. How quickly you rise depends on how you explain the fall. Growth happens when your mindset stays strong during difficulty. Easy times make life enjoyable. Hard times make life meaningful. Hardship forces you to access parts of yourself that comfort never touches. Patience, courage, creativity, adaptability, emotional strength, inner wisdom, grit, vision. Difficulty is not the opposite of growth. It is the birthplace of it. Your mindset determines whether hardship becomes a wall you hit or a mountain you climb. If you approach adversity with fear, your life shrinks. If you approach adversity with growth, your life expands. Your mindset in hardship becomes your identity in strength. Every storm you survive rewires your self-belief. You begin to realize, I can handle more than I thought. I'm not as fragile as I feared. I can trust myself in chaos. I can rebuild, even when things fall apart. I am becoming someone powerful. Pain shapes identity. Struggle builds capacity. Challenges refine character. Hardship transforms you. When your mindset allows it to, a strong mind doesn't avoid difficulty. It uses difficulty. It sees it, feels it, learns from it, and grows beyond it. Your future self is born in the moments where you choose strength over surrender. Chapter 10. Becoming the person your future requires. Your future is not built from wishes, dreams, intentions, or motivational highs. It is built from identity. The person you choose to become through your thoughts, your habits, your beliefs, and your daily behavior. Your future self is not some distant fantasy. It is a real version of you waiting on the other side of your current limitations. But here is the truth most people never hear. You cannot reach your future with the mindset that created your present. You must evolve. You must upgrade. You must become someone new. This chapter is about stepping into that identity, the version of you that your future requires. Your future self requires new thoughts. Every transformation begins with a mental shift. Your current thoughts built your current life. If you want a new life, you need new thoughts. Thoughts like, I can figure this out. I am capable of growth. I am allowed to change. I no longer think like the old me. My future deserves stronger thoughts than my past. Your future self doesn't think in fear. Your future self thinks in possibility. Your future self doesn't ask, what if I fail? Your future self asks, what can I build? Your life expands when your thoughts expand first. Your future self requires new beliefs. Beliefs are the invisible architecture of your life. They decide what you allow yourself to pursue, how far you allow yourself to rise, and what kind of identity you accept as normal. To become your future self, you must adopt beliefs such as, I deserve better. I am capable of excellence. I grow through challenges. I can reinvent myself at any age. I'm allowed to succeed beyond my past identity. You cannot build a powerful future with beliefs that were born from your wounded past. Belief change is identity change. Your future self requires new habits. Your habits are the daily votes you cast for the person you want to become. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, take action instead of overthinking, stay consistent instead of waiting for motivation, speak to yourself with respect, step toward discomfort, follow through on your promises. You're casting a vote. One vote will not change your identity, but hundreds will, thousands will. Consistency reshapes who you are. This is how transformation happens. Silently, gradually, through the habits nobody sees. Your future self is built in the smallest decisions of your day. Your future self requires new emotional skills. You don't need fewer emotions. You need better emotional skills. Your future self knows how to feel fear without freezing, feel sadness without shutting down, feel anger without exploding, feel stress without collapsing, feel uncertainty without panicking. Emotional maturity is the difference between reaction and response, avoidance and awareness, collapse and resilience, fear and courage. Your future self is not emotionless. They are emotionally capable. Your future self requires releasing the old you. The person you are today was shaped by old patterns, old beliefs, and old stories. To rise into your future self, you must release the identity that kept you small, the fear that kept you safe, the habits that kept you stagnant, the relationships that kept you limited, the memories that kept you scared. Transformation is not only about addition, it is about subtraction. Letting go makes space for who you are becoming. The doorway to your next chapter will not open until you stop clinging to the last one. Your future self requires making decisions from vision, not fear. Most people make decisions based on their past failures, past trauma, past beliefs. Your future demands decisions based on vision. Ask yourself, what would the future version of me choose today? How would they respond to this discomfort? What habit would they build here? Who would they distance themselves from? What opportunity would they say yes to? Your future self already knows the answers. You simply need to act in alignment with them. The more you think like your future self, the faster you become that person. Your future self requires courage more than certainty. You will never feel fully ready. You will never have perfect clarity. You will never have zero fear. You grow by stepping into the unknown, not by waiting for the unknown to feel safe. Your future self is not built through certainty. It is built through courage. Courage to try, courage to learn, courage to fail, courage to begin again, courage to outgrow who you once were. You become powerful the moment you choose courage over comfort. A transformed mindset creates a transformed life. Your mindset is the compass of your destiny. It shapes your choices. Your choices shape your habits. Your habits shape your identity. Your identity shapes your life. If you want a new life, stop trying to fix the outside world. Fix the internal world first. Your future self is waiting, not in some distant, unreachable version of your life, but in the next decision you make, the next thought you choose, the next habit you commit to, the next belief you embrace. The moment you begin thinking like your future self, you begin becoming your future self. And once your identity upgrades, your life follows. Your future requires you, the strongest, clearest, most courageous version of you. And that version is already within reach. Your life is not happening to you. It is happening from you, from your thoughts, from your beliefs, from your internal dialogue, from the stories you repeat to yourself every day. Now you understand the psychology of mindset, how your mental patterns shape your emotional patterns, how your emotional patterns shape your actions, and how your actions shape your entire life. You're not stuck. You're not limited. You're not defined by the past. You simply need a mindset strong enough, clear enough, disciplined enough to lead you into the life you want. Fix your mindset, and everything else follows. New habits, new opportunities, new confidence, new identity, new life. Your transformation begins in your thoughts. Choose them wisely, and the life you desire will no longer feel impossible. It will feel inevitable.